Welcome back again to the Extreme Sports YouTube channel. You've come to the perfect spot, whether you're an avid sports fan or just beginning to learn more about athletics. We dedicate our channel to delivering you the most recent information on sports, including news, highlights, analysis, and commentary. We have you covered for everything from basketball to tennis, soccer to football. Hence, take a seat, grab a snack, and get ready to explore the world of sports with us. Make sure you subscribe. Without further ado, let's get started. Dennis Rodman is one of the most complex and fascinating people in NBA history. In this video, we'll talk about the curious case of Rodman, how good he was actually, and the impact he had on his teams and the NBA as a whole. He was a Hall of Famer who scored 7 points per game during his career. He was an alcoholic womanizer, a tireless party animal, and one of the best defenders and rebounders in NBA history. Early life and professional career, Rodman's entire life is anything but ordinary, and his path to becoming a professional basketball player was unlike any other in history. He was relatively short in high school, standing at 5 feet 11 inches, and he didn't make the varsity team. His father left the family when Dennis was 3 years old, and his mother worked tirelessly to provide for her 2 daughters, including Dennis, who was a complete loser according to his own admission. Rodman experienced a sudden growth spurt between the ages of 19 and 20 and grew more than 7 inches to his current height of 6 feet 7. However, other than playing basketball on the playgrounds, Rodman never played organized basketball in his life and was struck drifting from one odd job to another. I wandered aimlessly on the streets of Dallas. I didn't know what I wanted. I had no interest in school. Nobody was interested in me in my game. He was arrested while working as a janitor at Dallas International Airport for stealing 15 watches from the airport gift store. His mother evicted him from the house. Rodman would have died or been in prison if it hadn't been for Coach Lonnie Reisman, who coaches at the modest University of Southeastern Oklahoma State in the NAIA division, and awarded Rodman a scholarship after witnessing him play in a junior college tournament. Dennis scored 25 points per game despite the fact that the competition in the NAIA was weaker than on the typical playground in New York. However, his ferocious rebounding was what stood out most. The Detroit Pistons, who selected Rodman with the 27th pick in the 1986 NBA draft, took a chance on him. In 1985, he had 16, and 1986, he had 18. Rodman fit in perfectly with the Pistons' hard-working blue-collar team, which included Isaiah Thomas, Joe DeMars, and Bill Lambert. He was devoted to Pistons head coach Chuck Daly and would die on the field for him. Chuck was the father that I didn't have, Rodman remarked. I did everything he said without question. He was the only one who gave me a chance, and it was my duty to justify it every second on the floor. There were many players who could stay out all night, drink, take a girl home, and then score 30 the next day because they were highly skilled. Will Chamberlain, Allen Iverson, Vince Carter, Barkley, and Jordan are examples of that, to name a few. However, defense is something else. It takes willpower, a huge desire to jump the opponent, energy to fight for position, and to jump higher than everyone for the rebound. And that's where Rodman was at his best. He simply played harder than anyone else, dived for loose balls, rebounded harder than anyone else, and never backed down on defense. After that, he celebrated his good defense like a madman, and everyone hated playing against him. Rodman has so much power and adrenaline in his body that he would frequently ride a stationary bike for an additional hour or lift weights after games. With Rodman in charge of their defense, the Pistons move up from being the 15th best defense in 1986 to the 5th best. During Rodman's time there, they had the second best defensive rating in the league in 1988 and never left the top 5. The Pistons had drafted Isaiah Thomas in 1981, and he was an all-star every season from 1982 to 1993. In the middle of the 1980s, Bill Laimbeer was also a 3-time All-Star. These 2 players were the team's leaders and most well-known players. However, Isaiah and Laimbeer had only won one playoff series before Dennis Rodman joined the Pistons for the 86-87 season. In 1987, They reached the conference finals and narrowly lost to the Celtics in Game 7. The Pistons finally defeated the Celtics in 1988, but the Lakers were too strong this time in the finals, and they lost to the Lakers in another Game 7, losing the championship by 3 points. However, everything came together in 1989 when the Pistons defeated the Celtics, the Bucks, Jordan, and the Bulls in 6 games in the finals. They then defeated the Lakers, avenging their loss the previous year and celebrating their first championship in franchise history. The next season, the Pistons dominated once more and had the best record in the East for the third year in a row. They easily reached the conference finals, where they faced Jordan once more under the infamous Jordan rules. The Pistons beat Jordan for an entire series and won 7 games, making it the third time in a row that had Bad Boy Pistons eliminated Jordan from the playoffs. The Bad Boys period ended in 1992 when the aging Pistons entered the playoffs but were crushed in 5 games by the New York Knicks in the first round, bringing the Bad Boys era to an end. The Pistons defeated the Portland Trail Blazers in 5 games in the 1990 finals, with Isaiah Thomas earning finals MVP honors. Jordan ultimately avenged all of those losses in 1991 as his Bulls swept the Pistons. Chuck Daly left the team, which was especially hard on Rodman because he no longer had a father figure. It was like someone had taken the leash off a wild animal. Tattoos started to pile up, and Dennis the Menace became a regular in downtown Detroit bars and nightclubs. In 1993, Rodman tried to kill himself by bringing a shotgun to the arena with the intention of using it on himself. Fortunately, he gave up and fell asleep in his car, where he was discovered by Craig Sager. Rodman realized he couldn't stay in the Motor City and demanded a trade, but Sager tried to talk him out of suicide. Rodman joined the NBA at the age of 25 and became the best rebounder in the league for the San Antonio Spurs. He never had an interest in scoring and scored double figures only once in his career. His tenacity on defense, which made him arguably the most aggressive player the league had ever seen, earned him 2 Defensive Players of the Year awards in 1990 and 1991. Because he would always wiggle his way to the ball among taller players, he was nicknamed the Worm. However, what he did from 1992 to the rest of his career is almost inexplicable and demonstrate what a unique basketball genius Dennis Rodman really was. He was also always a strong rebounder for his size, and he averaged 9 boards in 26 minutes per game during his first 5 seasons. He spent a lot of time studying and practicing rebounding, going to great lengths to check the angle and trajectory of the ball, learning how each player shoots, and adjusted his positioning accordingly. He also learned how often the ball rotates with the best NBA scorers, which helped him figure out where the ball would bounce if they missed. This new technique, combined with his incredible athleticism and never-ending cardio, made him a rebounding machine. When Rodman came to the Spurs in 1993, he formed a killer defensive and rebounding duo with David Robinson. But the two stars never liked each other and the team never reached its full potential. Robinson was in the army and lived in a strict athlete lifestyle, while Rodman was becoming more and more notorious by the minute. Between 1992 and 1998, Rodman led the league in rebounding, averaging 16.7 boards per season. He began doing his hair every night. The Spurs began getting more tattoos and piercings, and of course, he partied and drank as much as he could. However, the Spurs won 62 games in 1995 and they finished the season with a record. Rodman and David Robinson were in charge of the boards, and Rodman lashed out at Bob Hill after they lost to Houston in the 95 playoffs, calling him a loser and blaming him for poor defensive strategy. This, along with many other suspensions and misdemeanors, ended Rodman's time in San Antonio. When Rodman won the three-peat in Chicago in 1996, he was at his wildest. His book, Bad as I Wanna Be, had just come out, and his rebellious phase had reached its peak. Signing Rodman to any team meant jeopardizing team's chemistry, despite the fact that he had won rebounding titles and played ferocious defense. However, Phil Jackson correctly predicted that because of Jordan's maniacal desire to win and his leadership abilities, Dennis Rodman would not be able to significantly disrupt team chemistry. To this day, Phil asserts that no one has grasped the fundamentals of the triangle offense as quickly or as effectively as Dennis Rodman. Jackson made the observation that Rodman wanted to be a part of the team despite all of his uncontrollable behavior. However, he had to follow his own rules. Dennis was known for never talking to Scottie Pippen or Michael Jordan outside of the court's locker room. He got drunk almost every day, run away to Vegas in the middle of the season, and wrestled Hulk Hogan one day before the NBA Finals game. However, despite the chaos, everything turned out well. Phil was another father figure to him, and he respected Jordan as well. The Bulls won 3 championships in a row from 1996 to 1998, but they couldn't have done it without the Worm. In the 1996 finals against Seattle, Rodman had 11 offensive rebounds twice, which led Seahawks coach Carl to say that Rodman had won 2 games on his own. In the 97 and 98 finals, Rodman drove Karl Malone crazy with his defense, despite Malone weighing almost 50 pounds more than the Worm. If Rodman hadn't come, the Bulls might have won another championship during his second stint with the team. After Rodman left the Bulls, he went on to play for the Lakers and the Mavericks for 2 more seasons, playing 35 games each time. When he retired in 2000, he was the greatest rebounder in NBA history. Wilt and Bill Russell hold the record for most rebounding minutes played, but Rodman played an average of 31 minutes per game. They also played at a rapid pace, giving them more chances to get rebounds. They were also the tallest players on the court. Rodman, a 6'7" small forward, averaged more rebounds per 100 possessions than Russell and Chamberlain. Dennis Rodman has the greatest single-season rebound percentage of 29.7, and the Worm has 7 of the top 10 rebound percentage seasons in NBA history. All 7 of his rebounding titles came after he was 30, and despite drinking and having relationships with women, he was able to successfully protect Shaq in the post. The Worm was an extremely intelligent basketball player whose teams won 5 NBA titles. He was also a trendsetter who made defense look cool and was the first NBA player to get a lot of tattoos. Despite only scoring 7 points per game, Rodman left a big mark on the league and is deservedly in the Hall of Fame. In the end, Dennis the Menace's negative publicity and headaches were well worth the effort. On any given night, Rodman outworked and hustled every player on the court. He possessed ferocious tenacity to match his winning spirit. We sincerely hope you enjoyed it and learned something new about your favorite sports person or player. If you did, help us out by giving us a thumbs up and recommending this video to other sports lover. Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss out on our next videos. See you at the next one.